give me a couple of words. What do your parents mean to you?
My parents are my rock, man. They are literally my everything. They have been instrumental in getting me where I am today, and I would not be here without them. You know, they have been, they have always been very tough,
Yeah.
but they have been very fair.
Yeah. I love
And
this.
that was one of the things, like, I look back now as an adult, thinking about my childhood. I was like, I always think my parents were like, they were strict, but they weren't like just overbearing. You know, they had expectations. They had things that they needed me to accomplish to be prepared for the world. No matter if I didn't like them at the time or not, they were a team and helped raising me and my brother. And I just really appreciate them.
I love that. I mean, everything you're saying there, I mean, that's me in a nutshell with as a dad. Like my 13, 15-year-old, they cook, clean, laundry, barbecue.
Yeah,
We get home from the office, or me and my wife get home, and my 15-year-old daughter has dinner ready. But
yeah,
all these things we've done, we prepare them that they're
yeah,
ready for the real world. Like I
yeah,
teach them sales, I teach them financing, I teach them public speaking. I do all these things that the school system's not doing to prepare them for the real world. So I love that hard love. You always know in your head as a parent that your child will get to the certain age when they start realizing time is a currency, not abundance, and you start appreciating those
yeah.
lessons your parents taught you.
And that's some of the things now, that I've really been teaching myself, because growing up, and look, my parents are amazing. Like I said, they put me in all the best positions to win.
Yeah.
But the one thing that we did not do as a family was really talk about entrepreneurship. It was very much education focused. You make good grades, you go to good schools, go to grad school, and you get great high paying jobs. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I'm in that position.
Yeah.
But I think if we were able to add to that, and that's like, look, my dad is now a very successful judge, very well respected judge in the city of New Orleans. My mother's now an entrepreneur, where she was a social worker, clinical social worker the majority of her career. She became an entrepreneur in 2005.
Do you mind, do you mind me asking what her business is?
No, absolutely. So she does consulting work
Okay.
in different capacities. She as a social worker, and she also has a master's degree in psychology. So she's been contracted to do jury consulting in the legal field. She does diversity training with different companies, government agencies. She works on other projects with energy around the city of New Orleans. So she does a lot of consulting work.
Yeah. That's awesome. So continue
Yeah.
what you're saying about the entrepreneur.
No, absolutely. So, like, my parents always stress education,
Yeah.
but we never really talked about entrepreneurship, not like probably the way that you talked about it, like with your kids, like figure out like how to do a business and things like that. And I'm now seeing it because we're now kind of doing it together later in life. And one of the things that we've got into, and I've kind of started taking the spearhead, it was like diving into real estate. And, you know, that was something, like I said, the entrepreneurship route wasn't something that we taught as many. Like my mother has 2 master's degrees. My father has, a law degree. We didn't have that early on, and all of a sudden now this light bulb has gone off because I'm sitting back and I'm reading a lot more and educating myself a lot more. And I'm sitting back looking at a lot of these people who are now successful. And it's not that I'm like, oh, if you could do that, I could do that. But I'm like, what's the formula? And it's just like, wait a minute.
There's a process to everything.
There's a process to it. That's what needs to be done. I can do that. Let me sit down and educate myself on how to do it. And now, and I always tell everybody, it don't matter when you start as long as you do it, right? And don't be scared to hop in and actually get in the game. Because the other thing is too, a lot of people will just study, and won't do anything. And I was actually victim of that.
It's the fear of failure, right?
Fear of failure and paralysis by analysis.
I love that. Yeah.
I just for a while I would also just study. I'm like, you know what? It's actually time to physically get in the game.
I think the biggest thing too, sorry to cut you off, Justin. The biggest thing too is a lot of people are always waiting for the perfect moment, and there is no perfect moment.
Never.
So I always jump into stuff before I'm prepared, because you just it's swim or drown. It's just, you got to do it. You put yourself in a situation when you're forced to do it. You're going to find ways to be resourceful, and you're going to find ways to achieve.